Powered by Riverside FM.
People have been talking about fortifying the trenches for the Minnesota Vikings, but an area that the Minnesota Vikings need to address, I'm telling you right now, is going to be quarterback. I think cornerback gets lost in all of the trench talk, the defensive line, offensive line, and I'm not saying that they don't have to fix those things, but I think that defensive back room is becoming a little thin, especially if they don't bring back Byron Murphy Jr., especially if they don't bring back Cam Bynum, which it looks like Cam Bynum may be headed to the Denver Broncos, and Byron Murphy Jr. is rumored to have really big-time interest from the Las Vegas Raiders. So right now, you got Shaq Griffin that they're thinking about possibly bringing back. You got Mekhi Blackman, who's coming off an ACL. You got Gilly, who is looking at retirement. There is no other area on the team. People keep talking offensive line, defensive line. Right now, there's no area on the team that is as weak as the D-back spot for the Minnesota Vikings. And so we have to take care of this area. Along with fixing the trenches, we have to take care of this area. And I don't think that you can bring in a rookie and help fortify that defensive backfield. Evidence is shown. You're looking at Kwesi, who hasn't had great drafts, and then the cornerbacks that we have drafted in the past really hasn't worked out for the Minnesota Vikings. So I think you need a guy. You need a guy that has played in the league, not necessarily long in the tooth, but somebody back there with some freaking experience, man. Stop bringing in these green guys. We need to, if we are looking to be able to get home with 4. And I think B-Flow will tell you he loves the blitz, but he doesn't want to blitz as much. And you really want to start getting home with 4, a.k.a. the Philadelphia Eagles in the Super Bowl, who didn't blitz once. What do you think you have to have? You have to have corners, and you have to have safeties. And the Minnesota Vikings right now, barring the re-signing of Murphy Jr. and Cam Bynum, they're pretty thin. Now, I know they just gave Theo Jackson the extension, which I think was a good deal for the Minnesota Vikings. Theo Jackson is a baller. He can play. He can play. So his role is going to be, he's going to have more responsibility now. He's going to play more downs. He's going to play more snaps. But we need more. And this is an area that the Minnesota Vikings, they just have to address with Stephon Gilmore being gone. Shaq Griffith, Fabian Monroe. These are all guys that are free agents right now. Now, a name that keeps coming up, which is really intriguing, is Carlton Davis. Keep your eye on Carlton Davis and the Vikings trying to snip him up from the Detroit Lions. I mean, Davis is a free agent, for the Lions. He was a key contributor to the efforts in the secondary, played in 13 games for the Lions, finished the year with 56 total tackles, 11 passes defended, 2 interceptions, 2 fumble recoveries, and a forced fumble. Davis received a 74.5 overall grade from PFF. This dude can play. He's not an elite D-back, but he is somebody that has the experience, that can make plays, and he would be a solid contributor. I actually think that he is a little bit more of an upgrade physically than Byron Murphy Jr. That is just my opinion. And I think he's going to be less expensive than Byron Murphy Jr. And this is the game that you have to play if you're the Minnesota Vikings. Where can you get your value? Like, I would be really hesitant to bring back Byron Murphy Jr. for over $20 million off one good year. Off one good year with the Minnesota Vikings. Carlton Davis has multiple years where he has been able to step in and consistently contribute at a certain level. Another name that I would love is DJ Reed from the New York Jets. He was a standout with the Jets, even though they had a crappy season. Played 14 games, finished with 64 tackles. At the cornerback spot, the guy likes to hit. The guy likes to tackle. He's a unicorn when it comes to quarterback. 11 passes defended and a sack. Reed had a 70.5 overall grade from PFF. I'm a Reed guy. I would love to see Reed in purple. And I think he's a natural fit for Brian Flores' scheme. So I wouldn't be hesitant to take a flyer on that guy. And I would be willing to overpay just a little bit for Reed. Because I think he is a force multiplier. He's a guy that can play in man-to-man coverage. He's multifaceted, so you can stick it back in zone and play in areas, and he will still be able to make plays. I just like the DJ Reed aspect in terms of him coming to the Minnesota Vikings. It is paramount that we don't get so caught up in fixing the offensive line. Do we need to fix the offensive line? Of course we do. That interior offensive line. It's the big reason why I feel like they signed Aaron Jones. Because as good as Aaron Jones was last year, not great, but as good as Aaron Jones was last year, I believe the Minnesota Vikings looked at that and said, man, our offensive line wasn't even that good. KLC came out and said they need to fix the interior offensive line a couple days after the season ended for the Minnesota Vikings. So it shows you their mindset. They are going to fix that. They are also going to fix that interior defensive line as well. That is going to happen for the Minnesota Vikings. But I'm telling you, the one thing that I don't want is for the Minnesota Vikings to get so lost in the trenches that they don't address an area that is of need, probably more so than any area on the field right now, because you don't know with Murph, you don't know with Beasley, you solidified Jackson, and I think that sends a message to Cam Bynum and their camp that, hey, man, you're just a little bit too expensive. So I think for sure Cam Bynum is gone. Byron Murphy Jr., I think, is gone as well. But I think the Vikings are still in play, although I think it's a small chance that they're going to get him back. I don't think they want to pay that much for Murphy, so I think he's gone. I think he's going to end up with the Raiders. But if you'd have told me that the Vikings would have signed Aaron Jones for a 2-year, $20 million contract, and I know a lot of it is incentives, so it's not as much as it looks, I was a little bit surprised at the years and the numbers. Anything can happen in free agency, but the area of note that the Minnesota Vikings need to address is that secondary. They can't get caught slipping on that. They can't get caught slipping on that, man. They've got to balance this thing out. I know they got to go heavy into the trenches and all of that good stuff, but address that secondary as well. We can't be teeter-tottering every year. Defense is good one year, offense is not that good, and it's the offensive year, and then our defense lacks. It's going to take a lot of creativity. It's going to take a lot of thought, but the Minnesota Vikings have the salary cap flexibility to be major players in free agency and fix a lot of holes. This has been Unconventional Playbook. Please hit that like and subscribe button. It just takes a minute. Hit that like button. Hit that subscribe button. Please consider becoming a member. If you become a member of UP Nation, you will be entered into a drawing to win a Minnesota Vikings Winter Warrior jersey. Those things are absolutely fantastic. The white, the glistening white, the purple and yellow stripes. Oh, those things are beautiful. This has been Unconventional Playbook, and as always, UP Nation, we will see you when we see you. I love free agency time. Later, UP.